okay.
Go ahead and load up Vimeo, people. Duel of the Dorks. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, unpause. And we're off. There it is. He color corrected the logo. Disqualified.
Oh, Jesus. That is totally unacceptable.
I actually do want to say I wish the logo had been more separation because it's all silver and it makes it a little hard to read. But
Nah.
I think this is a film that actually...
It's not part of the choreography, Dorkman.
no, disqualified.
I think this is a film that most successfully uses the framing of a plot in terms of like a setup for the context of the fight, and that actually is done so in a way where it affects the fight and the way that the choreography is and how it's used.
Again, the decision about the situation and the motivation determines the choreography and the other decisions downstream.
Yeah.
And done very creatively and imaginatively.
I'm a little confused as to why, like, she calls them nerds, they correct her to geeks, and it's called Duel of the Dorks. So I don't quite understand what's going on there. But
that's the joke.
Yeah.
I also don't understand the posters.
Yeah. Well, no, they work in a movie theater, so they get posters to put up. I don't understand why they're robbing the theater of the
posters.
Have you ever worked at a movie theater?
I have. You cannot do that.
Yeah, you do that after
the movies are out of the theater. Yeah.
No, and by the way,
oh, she calls you dorks. All right. Fine.
This place that's a movie theater / billiard hall / bowling alley /
which is awesome.
Pizza. I really want to come party there.
I would live there.
Yeah,
I would live in this building.
I like how some of the first things that happen here are just destruction and chopping through bars and stuff.
Would you say right up front that this is also, I think, an extremely well made project, and it's only second to Jedi Pastors in terms of the equipment that they probably had available to shoot it with. Because if they'd had a Steadicam and so on, I mean, you can see that this is pretty darn good for what is probably not very sophisticated equipment. But the filmmaking eye is absolutely at work here, and
I agree.
The sensibility is at play, and it's very strong. One quick thing there, when he does the little push that he did back there. This is kind of a sort of global note, but they do this a lot in this particular entry, and it's strictly from choreography perspective, because we've said a lot of very kind things. But from choreography, if you're whacking each other with swords, and then you pivot from that into a sort of not very realistic or effective-looking push or shove or grab, it really kind of kills your momentum that you build through the fight. So be very judicious with how you use that, and if you are going to use that, really take the opportunity to sell it well.
I love that shot where he flips it, because afterwards you can see him like trying not to crack up. He's like, "Oh shit, I did that! That was so awesome! Oh my god!
Did we get it?
Did we get it? Yes!"
Hitting the bricks there is
That's a beauty effect. Yeah, that was a really nice one.
And the sound work actually on it. The sound in general in this is actually quite good for the whole thing as well. Obviously, that's not part of the choreography, but
we're a little for such a big amount of room there. They're really tight on each other, and the camera was really claustrophobic there. So I would just say, be aware of you can open this up a bit. You can
that would have been an awesome opportunity for a really wide shot of them on those lanes.
Exactly.
That would have been really a fun thing.
This is such an amazing location you guys have. Kick the camera out a little bit. We're very TV right now. We're very tightly framed, and we don't need to be. I think if you would have opened this up a little bit, we really could have seen some really cool movement there.
Right there, just passing was an example of the situation dictating the choreography, where he realizes that what he actually wants is the other lightsaber. He doesn't give a crap about the one that's in his hand, so he tosses it away. And the other guy doesn't care either, so he uses it to throw it. That's an excellent example of unique circumstances and a unique idea determining choreography.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah.
It depends on you remembering the context, though. Because it's very quickly easy to forget that they're just they're fighting with lightsabers.
You're like,
and the downside of remembering that is that then you go, oh yeah, but then the poster wouldn't.
Yeah, the poster wouldn't fit in here. I feel like, but that's all right. It's a nice shot.
Yeah, the fact that they were able to do all that is very cool.
Yeah, that's one thing that I like about this one is, again, depending on how much you consider, where you're going and using your location as part of the choreography, which I think, it is, at least in part. This is fun because if you had access to a bowling alley to do a lightsaber fight there, this is what you'd do. You'd go back and you'd be crawling around through the thing and all that. Yeah, that was my favorite part of the choreography in this, I think, actually, the jumping up out of the door there.
And that is very clever. I
love this bit.
I like
love this
quite a bit.
Yeah, I love when people, like we said before, use the properties of a lightsaber for tension or for part of the choreography or whatever. So that's very cool. A little bit.
Now I got an email from Nate, who made this one, saying they had a lot of weird troubles getting this one made because I thought they were going to make 2 at once originally, and then they didn't. And then I guess they had to reshoot the stuff in the lounge. And in his email, he says, if I could have done anything differently, I would have spent more time on the choreography at the end, because while the music is really getting awesome, and they're kind of crawling over each other. He doesn't feel as strongly about the choreography there.
I actually like that move. They cut around it very well to make it work. The back bridge. That's a cool move.
Yeah, there's that was good. I would like to see that actually. I don't know if they had to do that assisted, but I would like to have seen that a little bit wider as well.
Yeah. Actually, I would have wanted to see that light turn off, but I understand why they didn't do it that way.
There's the intensity is good, the energy is good, the action is good. Some of the targeting is a bit off.
You guys get the shout outs to you guys in there?
Yeah, apparently RVD was tracked into the screen there.
And I did see that you guys play with the oil in the lanes. That was cool. I noticed the sliding. I think you could have done more with that. I think you could have had like an inner lane fight. You probably could have opened that up a bit.
Oh my god.
But
slipping around on it.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun. But I think a
lot of bloopers.
But this thing is very fun. There's a great energy to it. I'm really enjoying it. I would only say that some of the targeting, and actually it's stronger here. It's actually really strong in this sequence. The fighting. But early when we started off, there's a bit more stick bashing, and there's a bit more. It took a while to really warm up the fight aspect of this.
There we go, to remind us what's going on.
And that's great. That's great.
It might have been helpful to have maybe one or at most two more instances of that throughout the fight. Just very quick little remember cardboard tubes.
And he says that's his previous Alex versus Nate on the screen.
I actually like the schoolyard headlock and the scarf hold there. I like that. I like how the fight devolves into this.
Yeah, you can tell how much fun they're having too. Just looking at them, they're trying not to laugh, basically.
I also love this handoff. It's very simple, it's practical, but it's very nice.
I actually really like the next shot. It's just very well executed. Kind of the boom down to follow them up, but keeps her more or less in frame right there.
The guy looks. He reminds me of a very non-British young Simon Pegg.
Which one?
Left.
On the left?
On the left. Yeah. I think he's got a future as a Simon Pegg impersonator. So this is just an extremely ambitious film, and not only that, it's every freaking frame of Sabers is rotoed. So clearly a lot of planning and a lot of forethought went into this, and a lot of effort, and it absolutely shows.
I actually really like this reveal because I was like, as soon as she started taking it out, I'm like, what can you put there to
what's
justify?
The MacGuffin? What is the MacGuffin?
How are you going to justify it? And then it's an ad for their next thing. I'm like, okay, yes, perfect. That works.
Brian, how do you feel about that one? You've been spending more time on the filmmaking and the movie of it. That one's a strong entry.
That's probably my favorite in terms of what was the most entertaining short film to watch. And I love the fact that there was an actual human situation and motivation involved, and one that I cared about. Like just in the very beginning, it's very simple, but I cared about it. So the writing in the beginning was a little on the scale of, hey, look how clever I am being my writing, as opposed to just having people talk.
I love it. I like the beginning part.
Your mileage may vary, but for me it was a little too cute for its own sake. But that's a minor nitpick in the grand scheme of just how entertaining and how engaging it was.
Trey, Stokes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and spill the beans. Yeah, one of my top three. That baby right there, very nice. And no, can't think of anything I haven't already said. I think I think it's just a fine piece of work all the way through. If we're going to talk about choreography, obviously I pass that off to the rest of them. But I have to say that I think that was one of the most well-rounded in terms of hitting on all cylinders of the entries we have this year.
Again, I'm not a judge, but it's my favorite one to watch at this point.
Beautiful work.
And I think that's another one that will have a life on YouTube, definitely. Ryan Wieber?
I agree exactly with what everyone just said. It's pretty outstanding as just as a little film and as a fight, and it's easy and it's fun to watch, definitely. Very polished in every regard. From the choreography standpoint itself, I think it had a lot of fun. It does explore cool little ideas and a nice, having fun with the environment. Obviously we threw out a few ideas just off the top of our heads of things that it could have been fun to continue exploring, but I think this one does more than most in terms of having fun with where you are. And the only thing about it is that it's doing all that stuff, which is great, and making it work as a film, which is awesome, but there's actually, as far as Saber on Saber choreography, there isn't a whole ton in here, really. What's there is good, it's working, but for me, again, in our personal top 1, 2, and 3, I have this one as my number 3.